Hello everyone, this is the video of Legal Studies Class 12 Unit 2, namely Topics of Law, and in this video we will discuss about the wrongful confinement. As in some of my previous video that I have been discussing about the intentional tort, that is the types of intentional tort. Now first we have discussed about the battery, the second we have discussed about the assault, and in this video we will discuss about the wrongful confinement. Wrongful confinement. So as the word wrongful suggests that something is doing which cannot be justified under the law. So it is wrongful. Confinement means restraining someone in a given area. Maybe his or her hand and legs are tied, or may not, possible, but he or she is confined in such a way or in such an area that he or she cannot escape until the person who confined him allows him or her to escape. So that is known as wrongful confinement. Okay, so let's check out the legal definition. When the defendant, whether a police officer or private person, please pay attention, whether a police officer, so it's not always only the private person, but it could be police officer as well, intentionally confines or restrains the claimant in a bounded area unlawfully. The thing that you need to focus on, that is unlawfully, is known as false imprisonment, okay, or wrongful confinement. Okay, so what in this definition is saying that the person or the claimant has been confined in a given area, that is against his or her will, and that is from the claimant's side, and from the defendant's side he did it, whether he is a police officer or private person, without any legal justification. So you need to focus on these 2 points. Claimant, he or she hasn't given the consent for such confinement, and the police officer or the private person, whomever he or she is, did it without any reasonable justification. Okay, so that is false imprisonment or wrongful confinement. For imprisonment, it is not necessary that the person should be locked behind the bar. Rather, it could be any place from where it is impossible for the claimant to escape, as we have discussed just now, except that will of the defendant. So without the will of the defendant, the claimant cannot escape from there. Secondly, it is not the degree of imprisonment that matters. What is meaning of degree of imprisonment here? But let's first complete the sentence, then we will discuss that. But rather it is the unlawful authority which cannot be justified the reason of the confinement. So what this sentence is saying, that the degree of confinement doesn't matter. Means degree means it could be how you are confined, whether in a dark room or in an open area, or your hand and your legs both are tied, or something like tied with tightly in a dark room, you haven't been given any food, or you are not allowed to walk around. So these matters do not much important. What is important? The important is the unlawful confinement. Means you are confined unlawfully, that is the defendant cannot justify your confinement, and your consent, that wasn't there. Okay. So for the false imprisonment, consent is not there. I am repeating again and again so that you can memorize through this video only. You don't need to read again and again. Okay. So lastly, I am saying again, false imprisonment means without the consent of the claimant and without the justification, that is lawful justification from the defendant side. Okay, so that is false imprisonment. Now let's check out what are the essential elements of false imprisonment. The first one is confinement has to be intentional and unlawful. Okay, so it is again, since we are studying the things that is intentional tort, so everything has to be intentional and unlawful. The next one is knowledge of the claimant. So claimant should know that he or she is confined, imprisoned, but in some of the cases the court says that knowledge of the claimant is not required essentially. But yes, in that case, what are the things that will be considered? That is the suffering of the claimant, how much he or she suffered. Okay, so knowledge of the claimant may be or may not be. The last one is the claimant essentially not confined willingly and consensually. Of course, the claimant's consent is not there. So we have three essential elements of false imprisonment. Now the next topic, that is defense of the false imprisonment. So say if you have confined someone, imprisoned someone, so what is the defense that you could have? The first one is, of course, that is the claimant has given you the permission or his or her consent to confine. So if his or her consent was there, then you are not responsible. And the second one, that is reasonable justification of the imprisonment. So if you reasonably, lawfully justify such confinement, such imprisonment, then you are not responsible for that. Okay, so consent of the claimant and justification, lawful justification of the defendant, these two are the defense against the wrongful imprisonment. Now the next topic that we have, that is remedies for false imprisonment. What are the remedies? Of course, the first one is damages, as we have seen that in tort case, remedies essentially are damages. Okay, and the second one in this case, especially habeas corpus. What is meaning of habeas corpus? That under Article 32 of the Constitution, Supreme Court has the power to order the person or the defendant to produce the person in the court whom he confined. Okay, and under Article 226 of the Indian Constitution, High Court has the same power. Okay, so habeas corpus means the arrested person has to be produced in the court. And the last remedies for false imprisonment is self-help. So if you come to know that this person confined you wrongfully, so in order to escape, you can use certain force, certain power, so that is allowed in your defense, you can do that. Okay, but take care of that, the force you are using, that is reasonable. Okay, so this is all for this video. As we have seen the meaning of false imprisonment, and then we have seen that what are the essential elements of the false imprisonment, and then we have seen that what are the defense for the false imprisonment, and then what are the remedies of the false imprisonment. Okay, so this is all for this video. In next video, we will discuss another type of intentional tort. In the meantime, you revise this. See you in next video.